Everyone saw a woman standing at a gas station. Nobody saw the warrior who was standing right in front of them. The afternoon sun covered the quiet streets of Oak Ridge, Florida, as Commander Maya Thompson pulled into a small gas station just outside town. To anyone passing by, it was an ordinary stop. A few minutes to fill the tank. A quick break before continuing the journey ahead. Nothing about the moment suggested that it would become a story remembered by many. Maya stepped out of her vehicle calmly, looked around, and began her routine. She was not wearing a uniform. She was not carrying any symbol that showed her history. She was simply a woman stopping for gas on an ordinary day. But hidden behind that quiet presence was a past that few people would ever imagine. Years earlier, Maya Thompson had served as a United States Navy SEAL, becoming part of a community known for discipline, preparation, and resilience. She had spent years learning how to stay focused when situations became uncertain, how to listen before reacting, and how to remain calm when others might lose control. Yet after leaving the military, Maya made a decision that shaped the way she lived her life. She did not want people to respect her because of a title. She wanted people to respect everyone, regardless of what they had accomplished. That belief followed her everywhere. It was not something she announced. It was something she carried. Across the parking lot, Officer Daniel Whitaker was beginning his afternoon patrol. With 16 years in law enforcement, Daniel believed experience was one of the most important tools an officer could have. Years on the job had taught him to pay attention, ask questions, and understand situations before making decisions. He had handled countless everyday encounters, and he believed preparation was the foundation of good service. When Daniel noticed Maya near her vehicle, he decided to approach and ask a few questions. From his perspective, it was another part of his responsibility. He did not know her background. He did not know her years of service. He did not know that the person standing in front of him had once trained and worked in one of the most demanding military environments in the world. All he saw was the situation in front of him. Maya noticed the officer approaching and remained calm. She understood that moments like this were often defined by the choices people made in the first few seconds. She had learned throughout her life that patience could reveal more than emotion ever could. So she waited, listened, and prepared to answer whatever questions came next. Neither of them knew that the cameras above the gas pumps were quietly recording the entire encounter. They did not know that every word, every pause, and every decision would later provide a complete picture of what happened that day. Daniel believed he was beginning a simple conversation. Maya believed she was experiencing another ordinary moment in life. But sometimes the most ordinary moments reveal the most important lessons. Because the person who looks like they have nothing to prove may be the person who has already proven more than anyone could imagine. The first few moments of the encounter appeared ordinary, but sometimes the most important stories begin quietly. Commander Maya Thompson stood beside her vehicle at the Oak Ridge gas station, listening as Officer Daniel Whitaker approached. The sounds of everyday life continued around them. Cars arrived and left. Customers walked in and out of the store. People continued with their own routines, unaware that a simple conversation was taking place near the fuel pumps. Daniel began by asking questions. His tone was professional, and from his perspective, he was following the responsibilities that came with his position. He believed that careful attention was part of protecting the community. After 16 years as a police officer, he had learned to notice details quickly and make decisions based on the information available. Maya understood that. She knew authority came with responsibilities, and she respected the role Daniel represented. But she also believed that every person deserved to understand why a conversation was happening. Instead of becoming defensive, she remained composed. She answered each question clearly and allowed the interaction to continue naturally. Her calm response was not accidental. It came from years of discipline and training. During her time as a Navy SEAL, Maya had learned that emotions could cloud judgment, while patience could reveal important details. Those lessons followed her long after she left military service. Daniel noticed that Maya carried herself differently from many people he had spoken with before. She was not nervous. She was not trying to argue. She was simply present, listening carefully and responding with confidence. But he still did not know the reason behind that confidence. He did not know that Maya had spent years in environments where preparation and self-control were essential. He did not know that she had once been part of a military community where trust and teamwork could determine success. All he knew was the situation in front of him. "Can I ask what brought you here today?" Daniel asked. Maya explained that she was traveling through the area and had stopped for fuel. Her answer was simple. She did not add unnecessary details. She did not mention her military background. She did not say that she had accomplished something most people would consider extraordinary. Maya believed that her past achievements should not decide how people treated her in the present. She wanted the interaction to be based on fairness, not recognition. As the conversation continued, Daniel asked a few more questions. Maya responded respectfully but also asked for clarity. "Could you explain what specific concern you are trying to address?" she said calmly. The question was not confrontational. It was a request for understanding. For a moment, Daniel paused. He was used to asking questions, but this time he had to consider the reason behind them. That small moment changed the atmosphere. It reminded everyone that communication was not only about receiving answers. It was also about explaining decisions. Above them, the gas station cameras continued recording silently. They captured the entire interaction without knowing anyone's name, background, or history. They did not know Maya was a former Navy SEAL. They did not know Daniel had years of service. They simply recorded what happened. Neither person realized that those recordings would later become important. Neither person knew that an ordinary conversation at a gas station would become a lesson about assumptions, respect, and the importance of seeing people beyond the surface. The conversation at the Oak Ridge gas station continued, but what made the moment unusual was not what people could see. It was what they could not see. On one side stood Officer Daniel Whitaker, a man who had spent 16 years believing that experience helped him understand situations quickly. On the other side stood Commander Maya Thompson, a woman whose calm presence came from years of preparation that most people would never know about. The difference between them was not authority. It was perspective. Daniel continued asking questions, trying to understand the circumstances in front of him. Maya continued answering with patience, never raising her voice and never attempting to change the direction of the conversation by explaining her past. She could have mentioned her years as a Navy SEAL. She could have explained the challenges she had overcome and the responsibilities she once carried. But she chose not to. For Maya, respect had more meaning when it was given before people discovered someone's achievements. That belief came from years of military service. During her time as a Navy SEAL, Maya learned that confidence did not come from telling people what she had accomplished. Confidence came from knowing who she was even when nobody else recognized it. She learned that the strongest people in difficult moments were often the ones who remained calm, listened carefully, and focused on solutions. Those lessons shaped the way she handled everyday situations after leaving the military. Daniel noticed that Maya's behavior was different. Many people became uncomfortable when questioned by law enforcement. Some people tried to explain everything immediately. Others reacted emotionally because they felt uncertain about what was happening. Maya did something different. She stayed focused. She asked for clarity. She treated the conversation as an opportunity for understanding rather than conflict. "I understand you have a responsibility to do your job," Maya said calmly. "I just want to understand what information led to this conversation." Her words were respectful, but they carried a deeper message. A person can cooperate while still wanting to understand. A person can respect authority while still asking for transparency. Daniel listened, but he was still viewing the situation through his own experience. He believed he was simply being careful. He believed he was doing what his training had taught him to do. He did not realize that every interaction also revealed something about the person making the decisions. Around them, the gas station continued moving as usual. A customer entered the store. A vehicle pulled away from a nearby pump. The ordinary sounds of the afternoon continued. Yet above the parking area, security cameras quietly recorded every detail. The cameras captured Maya's calm expression. They captured Daniel's questions. They captured the pauses between words and the way both people handled the conversation. The cameras did not know Maya's history. They did not know Daniel's years of service. They only recorded behavior. That was what made the footage important. It created a record without assumptions. As the interaction continued, neither person realized that this ordinary moment would soon become a powerful lesson. Daniel thought he was learning more about the person in front of him. But the truth was that the situation was also revealing something about himself. Maya was not trying to prove that she was special. She was showing something far more important. She was showing what discipline looked like when nobody knew her story. And the cameras were there to capture it all. The afternoon at the Oak Ridge gas station continued, but the meaning behind the conversation was beginning to change. What started as a simple interaction between a police officer and a driver was slowly becoming a moment that revealed how people see each other before they know the full story. Officer Daniel Whitaker stood near his patrol vehicle, reviewing the information he had gathered. From his perspective, he was doing what years of experience had taught him to do. He was paying attention. He was asking questions. He was making sure he understood the situation before moving forward. Daniel had built his career around responsibility. He believed that careful decisions helped create safer communities. But experience can sometimes create another challenge. The more familiar someone becomes with certain situations, the easier it can be to recognize patterns before understanding every individual detail. Commander Maya Thompson understood this better than most people. Her years as a Navy SEAL had taught her that assumptions could be dangerous in any environment. She learned that preparation was not only about having the right skills. It was also about knowing when to pause, observe, and gather the complete picture. That lesson stayed with her after leaving the military. As Daniel continued the conversation, Maya remained patient. She did not become frustrated. She did not try to change his opinion by explaining her past. She simply continued being herself. That choice was important because Maya believed character should be visible through actions, not announced through achievements. Daniel asked a few more questions about her plans and her reason for stopping at the gas station. Maya answered directly. Her responses were respectful and clear, but she also continued to ask for understanding. She wanted to know why the questions were being asked. She wanted the conversation to remain based on facts rather than assumptions. "I appreciate that you are doing your job," Maya said. "I also believe people deserve to understand the reason behind decisions that affect them." Daniel listened carefully. The statement was not an argument. It was a reminder that communication worked both ways. Respect was not only about answering questions. It was also about creating understanding. Near the entrance of the gas station, a customer named Marcus Hill noticed the interaction. As the owner of the small business, Marcus had seen many conversations happen outside his store. Most were forgotten within minutes, but this one caught his attention because of Maya's calm approach. He did not know about her military service. He did not know she had once served as a Navy SEAL. He only noticed the way she carried herself. She was composed. She was respectful. She appeared confident without needing to prove anything. Above the fuel pumps, the security cameras continued recording. They captured the entire exchange from beginning to end. They recorded the words spoken, the pauses between questions, and the way both people responded. The cameras did not recognize status. They did not recognize reputation. They simply preserved the moment exactly as it happened. Daniel eventually asked Maya about her professional background. For a brief second, she considered explaining everything. She could have mentioned the years of training, the sacrifices, and the responsibilities she once carried. She could have changed the entire direction of the conversation. But she decided not to. Maya believed respect should come before recognition. She believed the value of a person should never depend on discovering their accomplishments. So she gave a simple answer and allowed the moment to continue. Daniel still did not know who was standing in front of him. He only knew the person he saw at that gas station. But soon, he would learn that sometimes the quietest person in the room can carry the greatest story. The encounter at the Oak Ridge gas station was coming to an end, but the moment was far from forgotten. Officer Daniel Whitaker returned to his patrol vehicle with the belief that he had completed a normal interaction. From his perspective, he had followed his training, asked the necessary questions, and gathered the information he needed. It was another routine moment in a long career of public service. But moments that seem ordinary at first can sometimes reveal the most important lessons. Commander Maya Thompson remained near her vehicle, calm and composed as she prepared to continue her journey. She did not look frustrated. She did not appear interested in proving anything. She simply carried the same quiet confidence she had shown from the beginning. Her choice to remain silent about her past was intentional. Maya knew that mentioning her time as a Navy SEAL would immediately change the way many people viewed the interaction. Some people might become more respectful because of the title. Others might become more interested because of the achievement. But Maya believed the real measure of respect was how someone was treated before any of those details were known. Years of military service had taught her that leadership was not about demanding recognition. It was about demonstrating character when recognition was absent. As Daniel reviewed his notes, he continued thinking about the conversation. Something about Maya's calm approach stayed in his mind. Many people reacted differently when they were questioned by authority. Some became defensive. Some became nervous. Maya had done neither. She had remained confident while still being respectful. That balance was something Daniel noticed, even if he did not fully understand it yet. Across the parking lot, Marcus Hill continued watching the situation from inside the gas station. He had owned the business for several years and had seen countless interactions between customers and people passing through the area. Most moments disappeared quickly, but this one felt different. Marcus noticed that Maya never tried to make the situation about herself. She never attempted to gain an advantage by explaining her background. She simply communicated with patience. Later, Marcus would remember that detail more than anything else. Meanwhile, the security cameras above the gas pumps continued capturing every second. They recorded the complete interaction without emotion or interpretation. They showed the distance between the two people. They showed their expressions. They showed the way the conversation developed over time. The footage did not know that Maya had served as a Navy SEAL. It did not know that Daniel had spent 16 years protecting his community. It only captured choices and actions. That was what made the recording valuable. It preserved the truth without adding assumptions. Before leaving, Daniel asked Maya one final question about her background. For a moment, the opportunity was there. She could have explained everything. She could have shared the years of training, the responsibilities she carried, and the experiences that shaped her. She could have changed the entire atmosphere of the encounter in seconds. But Maya made a different choice. She answered simply and respectfully. She allowed the moment to remain what it was. Two people having a conversation. As Daniel drove away from the gas station, he still believed he understood what had happened. He believed he had met a person involved in a routine stop. What he did not know was that the woman he had spoken with had a story far beyond what appeared on the surface. He did not know that the cameras had preserved every detail. And he did not know that soon, the footage would reveal a lesson about judgment, identity, and the importance of seeing people for who they truly are. The next chapter of the story began after the gas station encounter had already ended. For Commander Maya Thompson, it was simply another moment in everyday life. She continued with her plans, never expecting attention or recognition. She did not contact anyone to explain who she was. She did not share her military history with people who had witnessed the interaction. To Maya, the most important part of the moment was not whether people discovered her background. It was whether people could learn to treat others fairly without needing a reason. But inside the police department, the encounter started receiving a closer look. After questions were raised about the interaction, the department's professional standards team began reviewing the available information. Sergeant Laura Bennett was assigned to examine the situation carefully. Her responsibility was not to make assumptions before seeing the facts. It was to understand the complete picture. Laura began by watching the security footage from the gas station. She expected to see a routine conversation. Instead, she found a moment that revealed much more about communication and perception. The cameras showed Maya standing calmly beside her vehicle. They showed Daniel asking questions and reviewing information. They showed two people with very different backgrounds having a conversation that remained controlled from beginning to end. Laura paid close attention to Maya's behavior. She noticed that Maya never attempted to use her past achievements to influence the situation. She never mentioned her time as a Navy SEAL. She never suggested that her service should change the way she was treated. That detail stood out immediately. Maya had the ability to change the entire atmosphere of the encounter with a single sentence, but she chose not to. She allowed the situation to be judged by her actions in that moment. Laura then reviewed Officer Daniel Whitaker's report and compared it with the recorded footage. She looked at the questions asked, the explanations provided, and the overall flow of the conversation. She understood that Daniel believed he was doing his job responsibly. She also understood that a review process existed because every person in a position of authority had a responsibility to reflect on their decisions. Experience could help someone make better choices, but reflection helped someone continue improving. Meanwhile, Daniel continued his regular duties, unaware that the encounter was being examined. He believed he had handled the situation properly. He believed his experience had guided him, but he had not yet seen the interaction from another perspective. He had not watched the footage as an observer. He had not seen the patience in Maya's responses or the importance of the questions she asked. Later, Sergeant Bennett contacted Marcus Hill, the owner of the gas station, to confirm details about the recording. Marcus explained that he remembered the interaction because of the way Maya carried herself. He did not know she was a former Navy SEAL. He did not know her professional history. He only knew what he saw, a person who remained respectful during an uncertain conversation. As the review continued, one question became impossible to ignore. Would the interaction have been handled the same way if nobody ever discovered Maya's background? That question became the center of the discussion. Because fairness is not proven when someone receives respect after their achievements are revealed. Fairness is proven when someone receives respect before anyone knows their story. The review inside the Oak Ridge Police Department continued as Sergeant Laura Bennett examined every detail of the gas station encounter. What had started as a brief conversation between an officer and a driver was now being viewed as something much larger. The purpose of the review was not simply to decide whether someone was right or wrong. It was to understand how decisions were made, how communication unfolded, and what lessons could be learned from an ordinary moment. Laura watched the security footage again, this time focusing on the details that might have been missed during the first review. She noticed how Commander Maya Thompson remained consistent throughout the entire interaction. Her tone never changed. Her answers remained respectful. She never attempted to gain an advantage by revealing her military background. She never said that she was a former Navy SEAL. She never suggested that her past service should influence the way people viewed her. That decision became one of the most important parts of the review. Maya had carried a remarkable history, but she chose not to use it as a reason to receive different treatment. She wanted the situation to be understood based on what happened in that moment. Laura then focused on Officer Daniel Whitaker. She reviewed his actions carefully and considered the perspective he had during the encounter. She understood why Daniel believed he was doing his job. His years in law enforcement had taught him to observe situations carefully and respond to uncertainty. Those skills were important. But the review also showed that experience alone was not enough. Professional judgment required more than recognizing familiar patterns. It required the ability to pause and consider every individual situation. When Daniel was later asked to watch the footage, he saw something he had not noticed before. He watched the interaction without being inside the moment. He saw Maya's patience. He saw the way she answered questions without hostility. He saw that she was not trying to avoid cooperation. She was trying to understand the reason behind the conversation. For the first time, Daniel considered how the encounter might have felt from her perspective. That realization did not come from criticism. It came from reflection. Captain Daniel Brooks, who had overseen the department discussion, explained that growth in law enforcement came from the willingness to examine decisions honestly. He reminded the team that accountability was not about attacking someone's character. It was about improving the way responsibilities were carried out. The security footage provided an opportunity for everyone involved to learn. It showed that two people could have different roles and different experiences while still sharing the same responsibility to communicate respectfully. Meanwhile, Maya continued moving forward with her own life. She did not seek public attention from the situation. She did not want people to focus only on the fact that she had served as a Navy SEAL. She believed the deeper lesson was much simpler. A person's worth should never depend on discovering their accomplishments. Respect should exist before the introduction, before the title, and before the story is revealed. As the department prepared its final review, one idea became clear. The most important discovery was not who Maya Thompson was. The most important discovery was what the encounter taught everyone watching it. The cameras had captured more than a conversation at a gas station. They had captured a reminder that true professionalism begins when people choose fairness before they know someone's full story. The days following the review brought a deeper understanding of what the Oak Ridge gas station encounter truly represented. What began as a simple conversation between a police officer and a driver had become a powerful example of how everyday moments can reveal important lessons about judgment, responsibility, and respect. Inside the police department, Captain Daniel Brooks gathered officers and supervisors to discuss the findings. The purpose was not to create a story about one person being right and another person being wrong. The purpose was to understand how every decision made by someone in a position of authority can affect the people they serve. Officer Daniel Whitaker attended the discussion quietly. For the first time, he was not looking at the encounter from his own perspective. He was watching it as an observer. He saw the same footage that others had reviewed. He saw Commander Maya Thompson standing calmly beside her vehicle. He saw the way she answered questions. He saw the patience behind her words and the discipline behind her actions. Daniel realized that the thing that stood out most was not what Maya said. It was what she did not say. She never used her military background to change the direction of the conversation. She never mentioned that she had served as a Navy SEAL. She never asked to be treated differently. She simply expected the same level of respect that every person should receive. That realization stayed with Daniel. Throughout his career, he had believed that experience was one of his greatest strengths. But now he understood that experience needed to be combined with reflection. Knowing how to recognize a situation was important. Knowing when to challenge your own assumptions was equally important. Captain Brooks explained that professional service required constant learning. A badge represented responsibility, but it also represented trust. That trust was built through the choices people made during ordinary moments, not only during major events. The department decided to use the encounter as a training example. New officers watched the footage and discussed the importance of communication. They learned that professionalism was not measured only by following procedures. It was also measured by how people were treated during those procedures. Meanwhile, Maya continued her life away from the attention surrounding the story. She did not seek recognition from the public. She did not want the focus to remain on her military background. When people asked what she wanted others to learn from the experience, her answer was simple. She wanted people to understand that respect should never depend on discovering someone's achievements. A person should not have to reveal a title, a career, or a personal history to be treated with dignity. Marcus Hill, the owner of the gas station, also remembered the encounter differently after seeing the impact it created. To him, the most important part of the footage was not the discovery that Maya was a former Navy SEAL. It was the reminder that every person carries a story that may not be visible. The cameras had recorded an ordinary afternoon, but they had also captured something much deeper. They had captured the difference between appearance and reality. They had captured the importance of patience. They had captured the power of choosing understanding over assumption. As the department moved forward, the lesson became clear. The encounter was never truly about a gas station, a question, or a single conversation. It was about the moments when people decide how they will treat someone before they know the full story. And that was the lesson everyone needed to remember. Months after the encounter at the Oak Ridge gas station, The story continued to live on through the people who remembered its message. For Commander Maya Thompson, life returned to its normal rhythm. She continued working, spending time with her community, and sharing the values that had guided her for years. She never viewed the moment at the gas station as a chance to prove herself. In her eyes, the lesson was never about showing people what she had accomplished. It was about reminding people that every person deserves to be seen with fairness and respect. Maya had spent years serving in the United States Navy as a SEAL, but she believed the most important qualities she gained from that experience were not the title or recognition. They were patience, responsibility, and the ability to remain calm when situations were uncertain. Those qualities shaped every decision she made, including the decision to keep her background private during that conversation. Officer Daniel Whitaker also carried the memory of that day with him. The experience did not change his commitment to serving his community. Instead, it changed the way he approached each interaction afterward. He learned that every person he met had a story he could not immediately see. Some stories involved achievements. Some involved challenges. Some involved experiences that would never be known unless someone chose to share them. Daniel understood that his role was not only to ask questions. It was also to listen carefully and make sure people felt they were being treated with dignity. The footage from the gas station eventually became more than a record of one conversation. It became a reminder used during discussions about professionalism and communication. Officers who watched it saw something simple but powerful. They saw that respect did not require a special introduction. It did not require someone to reveal a title, a career, or a history of accomplishments. Respect was something every person deserved from the beginning. Marcus Hill, the owner of the gas station, often thought about how quickly people make judgments based on what they see. He remembered that day because nobody nearby knew the full story of the woman standing beside the vehicle. To everyone around her, Maya was simply another customer. But behind that ordinary appearance was a lifetime of dedication, discipline, and service. The lesson stayed with Marcus because it showed that every person carries something meaningful that may not be visible. Looking back, the encounter was never remembered because of a disagreement or a dramatic moment. It was remembered because it revealed something human. It showed that people can learn when they are willing to look beyond first impressions. It showed that professionalism requires humility. It showed that true strength often appears through patience rather than recognition. Maya never needed to announce who she was. Her actions already showed her character. Daniel never needed to forget his role. He only needed to remember the responsibility that came with it. And the cameras that quietly recorded that afternoon preserved a lesson that extended far beyond one gas station. They captured a reminder that the person standing in front of you may carry a story you have never imagined. The greatest measure of fairness is not how people respond after they discover someone's achievements. The greatest measure of fairness is how people choose to treat someone before they know anything at all.